right. Okay. All right. So we are going to look at the equations of circles today. Um, so this formula right here is going to give you the equation of a circle. In this formula, H, K, and R are going to be numbers. Okay? H and K are going to be the coordinates of the center of your circle. You saw, I think there were like 4 of these on the check-in. And we did not do great on those problems, which is understandable because we have not seen them before. But I think after we are able to look at these, that you will do much better on it because with Desmos, they're really not very difficult. If you had to do them by hand, they would be much more difficult, but we're allowed to use Desmos on our whole exam. So the R right there is the radius of the circle. So let's look at some examples. Actually, let's go back. Let's do the circle that's right here first, and then we'll look at some examples. So, sorry. All right, so the center of this circle right here will be right there. It is 1, -2 is the center of that circle. And the radius is the distance from the center to the edge, which is going to be 3 for the circle. So if I was wanting to write the equation of this circle, this is all I would have to do. I would do x minus, h is your x coordinate of your center. So that would be 1. And there's a square right there, plus y minus, and then I'm going to put the k is the y coordinate of your center. Now, because that's -2 right there, what's going to happen with a -2? It's going to be a +2 right there because it's going to be the opposite sign. That's what's going to happen each time. We had a +1, we put a -1 right here. We had a -2, we put a +2 right there. And then this is going to be equal to the radius squared. So the equation for this circle would be x minus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 9. Here's the wonderful thing about this. Desmos will graph these. The old graphing calculators will not graph it. So before we could use Desmos, this was much more difficult to do. But now that we can use Desmos here, if I want to graph this, I just type it in, x minus 1 to the second plus y plus 2 to the second equals 9, and it's going to graph it for me there. And then I can just compare that with the graph that I have here and check and make sure it is the same. Like your highest point, there's 1, 1, that's it. The lowest point is 1, -5, that's the same circle. So I know I've done it correctly there. So even if you're having a little bit of trouble deciding what the equation is supposed to be, they're going to be multiple choice because I'm not going to have you type in that entire equation as your answer because that's too difficult. And you can type them into Desmos to see what they will look like there. So we're not going to do maybe all of those, but we're going to do some of these right here. So if I have a circle that has a center at 5, 3, and a radius of 2, then my equation will look like this. I'll have x minus 5, always use the opposite sign, squared, plus y minus 3 squared equals the radius squared, which I could write 2 squared here if I want, or that would be 4 right there. Okay, questions on that? And again, on this, if you want to check that, you can just go to Desmos. You got x minus 5 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 4. You can type in the center they told you, 5, 3. It'll graph the point. Make sure it's in the center of the circle. Count to make sure your radius is correct. I need to zoom out a little bit so it's count by ones. Looked like it was 4 there, but radius is 2. So we know that we've done it correctly for that. We okay there? You're just counting right there. So from the center to the edge of the circle is to just go up, down, left, or right. It doesn't matter which direction. Don't try to count sideways or it won't work. But from the center up to the top, that would be your radius right there. So you're just counting. You do want to make sure you're like zoomed in correctly, because there at first I was zoomed in like this and it looked like it was 4, but it's because we weren't counting by ones over here. So if you zoom out enough that this is just going up by ones, then you can just count. Okay? All right. So if I want to write the equation of the second one, it would look like this. Since I've got a negative one there, it would be x plus 1 squared plus y minus 7 squared equals 14 squared, which is, what, 196? Yeah, 196. Okay, questions? All right, so like if we do, for example, number 4, who thinks they've got it and could tell me how to do number 4? All right, Katie. I'm just going to put 32 squared right there. And so we can type it in. We'll get a big number. 1,024. We can put that if we want. You may see this sometimes written this way. They may just do x squared plus y minus 9 squared equals 1024. Because when you have the 0 there, you don't have to really write that 0. But it's perfectly okay to put 0 there. It's just on multiple choice. It's probably not going to be there. Oh, you're right. This is wrong. Here's somebody mumbling back there. This is wrong. Why is it wrong? It didn't tell us radius. It told us diameter. So if the diameter is 32, what's the radius? Radius is 16. So instead of doing 32 squared, there we go. Instead of doing 32 squared, we should do 16 squared. 256 for that. Watch out for those little tricks. Okay, let's skip down here and do number 6. The center of number 6 is at 15, negative 6. So we would have x minus 15 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals, what are we going to get when we do the square root of 158 squared? Square root of 158 might be 12 point something, but it's 158 because when you square root and square something, it undoes each other. Okay? It is square root of 158 squared, which is just going to be 158. When you square root something, when you have the square root of something and then you square it, those two undo each other. So you just get 158. Or you can do it in your calculator. You can type that in the calculator, and it's just going to give you 158 also.
So, and this is like what any numbers
So what you're doing here is for your radius, you're always putting it here and you're squaring it. So, guys, quiet. Okay. So for 14 right here, we squared it. We got 196. This one's a little different because it's a square root to begin with. So we are taking square root of 158 and we are squaring it, which gives us the 158 that we put here. So
we're already square root in our answer that we get with the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Questions? All right. Let me give you guys some paper. You got it. Okay. All right. So let's look at our next slide. Why is it not going? Why won't it work? Okay, all right. Let's try again. Okay. All right, so these are asking us to write the equation of a circle. So for that, you need to know the center and the radius. So the center would be right here for this first one. And the radius, we would just count over, and it has a radius of 3. And the coordinates of that center right there are at -3, +2. Did I skip? I may have skipped because I'm on the right page. So this is the center of the circle. You just find the middle point there. So the coordinates of that are -3, +2. Just reading those coordinates off. Yeah, so this, like, you go left 3, you go up 2. So -3, 2, and the radius is 3. So to put this into the equation, you would have x plus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 3 squared, which is 9.
Did we switch the sign?
Yeah, for the center. Yeah, for both points in the center. You're going to switch the sign. So if it's negative here, it's going to be positive here. And especially if you are not very confident in what you are doing for this, pull up Desmos. Type it in. Like that. X plus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 9. And it will graph it. And then you can check and see if it is the same circle. Check to make sure the points are at the same place. And you can see this is correct for that.
So how did you get 9?
You take your radius, which is 3, and square it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, now I got it.
Okay? All right, let's try the next one. We've got a center. Sometimes it's a little hard to find the center, but if we count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So halfway across would be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there should be the center of this. You can count to the edge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in all directions, and if it's all the same, you've got the right place for your center. So the coordinates of that point would be 0, 4, and we just counted there. Our radius for that is 5. So, Anissa, how would we put that in an equation?
You do x, and then it's minus 0,
Perfect.
and then you square it,
Yes.
and then you add that to y minus 4, and then you do, you square that as well, and that's going to equal 5 to the second power, which is 25.
Perfect. Okay. Now, when you, yes. It has to do we did a little bit of like those shifting those graphs up, down, left, and right, and when things were inside of the parentheses, it went the opposite direction. So it's related to that idea right there, because when we put a negative into the parentheses, it's actually going to make it go to the right. 5 squared. You take your radius and square it. Yeah. Yeah. Now, on multiple choice, it is probably going to look like this. X squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 25. Why is that the same? 0 doesn't really do anything. When you subtract 0, it doesn't change the x any, right? So on multiple choice, it's probably going to look like this. I don't mind if you write it like this, but you're going to see these questions in multiple choice form. And you can type it into Desmos and make sure that graph matches to make sure you've done it right. Okay? Questions? All right. Go ahead. They're just asking for the equation of that circle. Is all they're asking for. All right. So, all right. Now, let's look at these, and we're going to use some Desmos on these. Because this is not as easy, okay? The center of a circle is located at 9, 10. And the point 7, 4 is on the circle. Write the equation of the circle. So for this problem, they have given us the center. So that is going to look like this. Let me make this larger over here too so you can see it a little better. 9, 10, yes. So we'll have x minus 9, oops, parentheses, to the second plus y minus 10 to the second equals, did they give us our radius? No. I don't know what the radius should be. If I put r squared here, it'll have this option to put a slider. And it will give me a circle, and I can just make it bigger or smaller, right? So what I can do here is I'm going to put the point 9, 10 here and make sure that's in the right spot. It is, right? Because if I click here, it's the middle of that circle, so that looks good. And I'm going to type in the point 7, 4, because the circle has to go through that point 7, 4. Let me drag this over here where we can see it a little better. All right? I need this circle to go through, have a center right here, which it does, and go through this point. So Easton says he's found it. What was your R for that, Easton? I thought this was supposed to be a whole number, but it's not looking very much like a whole number, is it?
Yeah, it's really not.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I meant for this one to be a whole number, and it is not turning out to be a whole number. Okay, let's do this though. Let's see if we can. These will be multiple choice though, so even if it's not a whole number, it's not going to be as bad as it is right here, open-ended. So. Somebody told me to type it in. It's around 6. I need to go back and look at these notes again. That question is going to be multiple choice. I meant for it to be a whole number. It is not a whole number. Let's see. Let me change that to 6. Let's just do this. Let's change this to a, what you're more likely to see here. All right. What you're more likely to see, let's say it's not 7, 4. Let's say it's the point negative 1, negative 1, 4. Like that. So if I have the point instead of negative 1, 4, whenever I get that slider right there at, why didn't I graph it? Oh, that's not -1, 4. I'm zoomed out too much. That is the 0.94. Make that a 9, 4. Sorry. Ugh, sorry. Here we go. All right, let's try again. 9, 4. All right, so 9, 4 is right here. I can use my slider. I can see that that should be 6. And really, I can count it that it should be 6 from the graph with this one. I will not give you one. If I give you one that's going to be not whole numbers, then you will definitely have a multiple choice for that, so you have options. So since my radius is 6, my equation of the circle would be x squared x minus 9 squared plus y minus 10 squared equals 6 squared, which is 36. There.
So, we just put in the number trying to figure out.
Okay. All right, I need everybody to stop because this was confusing because my problem was a bad problem. Okay? So let's try it again from the beginning. Because it should not be a difficult problem. All right, my problem was a bad problem from the beginning, so let's look at this once more here, and we are going to change 7, 4 to 9, 4. Okay, because my problem was a problem that was too difficult to do without having answer choices. Okay, if you had answer choices, you could just graph them all and see which one goes to that point. So I know the center of my graph. So since I know the center, in fact, let's just go ahead and type these in: 9, 10, and 9, 4. Okay, I know that red dot right there is supposed to be my center. I know the blue dot is supposed to be the dot on the edge of the circle. Right? It says it's the point is on the circle there. So if I know my center is 9, 10, so I can do x minus 9 to the second plus y minus 10 to the second equals, I don't know what the radius is supposed to be here, so I have a couple options. I could just do r squared right there and tell it to add a slider, right? And then if I do that, I can just change it until I get that circle to go through that point, which happens at 6. Because this is vertical, I could also just count the radius. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So our circle equation is just x minus 9 squared plus y minus 10 squared, and that is going to equal the radius squared, which is 6 squared for that, which is 36. So you can write this y minus 9 squared plus y minus 10 squared equals 36. Okay. 10 is that should say points, not pints. So points, -3 and 3 are the points. -3 and 3 and 5, 3 are endpoints of a diameter of a circle. What is the equation of the circle? So whenever we have a problem like this, we're going to do everything from Desmos. So let's just type these in: -3, 3, and 5, 3. And there they are. Okay, these are the endpoints of a diameter. So if you think about drawing this in, that's the diameter of the circle. The circle is going to look something like that, right? It's not going to be exactly that because my drawing is bad, but this is the endpoints of the diameter. So looking at that graph, what would the coordinates of the center be? Looks like it, I think that's a 3. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So my center is right there at 1, 3. Okay. What would the length of the radius be? If we're counting that from here, so from 1, 3 over to the edge, it is 4. Right. So I have a center at 1, 3 and a radius of 4. So to write that equation, I would do x minus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 4 squared, which is 16. So you can do 4 squared or 16. It doesn't matter. It's on multiple choice. It's going to be 16 right there. Now, you can always check it to make sure that it works. So do x minus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 4 squared, or you can put a 16. And it goes through both of those points. My circle is ugly because I am not good at drawing circles, but you can see that's where it is supposed to be. If I erase my original, this is what you'll see right here, and you can see right there that that circle does go through both of those points. So this would be our correct answer. Okay, so center and radius is what all of it is based on. If they don't give you center and radius, you want to try to graph it and see if you can find that. Okay, questions? All right. If we just look at a couple of these, this is just working backwards for this, finding the center and radius for these. So if I'm asked for the center and radius of number 11, 5, 1 is my center, radius is 8, because 64 squared is 8. You can take the square root of 64 to figure that out. Okay. Drew, what would the center be on number 12? Negative 7, 2. And Katie, how would we find the, oh, they ask us for diameter. Be careful there, they're going to try to trick you. How would we find the radius? We need the radius first. Not divide, but square root. You want to do square root of 324. Somebody do that one for me. Is it like, it's a whole number, isn't it? 18. So radius equals 18. They're trying to trick us here by asking for diameter. That would be 36 because we'd have to double our radius. They were being tricky there. Alex, what would the center of 13 be? Almost. Negative 10. You got to use the opposite sign of what's inside of that parentheses. So you got 0 and then on negative 10. Oh, radius is not going to be as easy for this. How do we find the radius for that? I'm going to square root it. 42.25. Somebody do that for me. 6.5 for my radius. They ask for diameter. They're trying to trick you. Multiply it by 2. You'll get 13. Okay. Ayla, what would the center of number 14 be? 6, negative 11. Perfect. Passion, how do we find the radius? I know that's really small. That's a 58 right there. Oh, no. Square root. So it's different than dividing by half. We are taking the square root of 58. That one I think is going to give me a decimal. 7.62. So we'll just type that into our calculator and do square root. Okay, questions? You can also graph these and count it. Some of them may not be whole numbers, so you might have to like estimate if you do that for those. Okay? All right. Okay, I'm going to skip 15 for right now. Let's look at 16. 16 gives you a weird question. I know I've made that too small for you to see, but you've got it on your paper. Which of the following equations has a center at -1, -4, and a radius of 2? Are these circles, do they look like what we were just trying to do right there? These circles are not put in standard form. Technically, we are supposed to learn how to put that in standard form by hand. We are not going to do that because these questions are going to be multiple choice. So what you want to do for this, I would go ahead and type in -1, -4 at the beginning, and then, so right there, that green dot right there is my center, and just type in your answer choices. X squared plus 8x plus y squared minus 2y equals -13. Is that the correct circle? No. All right, let's try the next one here. X squared minus 4x plus y squared plus y. It's going to work? Nope. No, it does not. No. All right, you think the next one's going to work? Let's try. That needs a 4y right there and 16. Don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's going to be D for this one, or I've made a bad question. Plus 2 plus 8 -13. All right, I'm zoomed in a little bit. Center is correct. Radius is 2. D is your answer. So while they may look different, they may not be where you can just see it. You can always use Desmos for that. Okay, questions? Yeah. Can you guys come to Smart Breakfast Monday? Smart Breakfast Monday. That'll be. Yes. You can also do it during class on Monday, but you will miss some of the review time that will be needed. Yes. All right. And I want to show you guys the assignment, so I'm going to skip 17 and 18. All you have to do for that is graph those two and see where they cross. That's all you do. All right. So, all right. Desmos Classroom is what you guys are going to have. Part of it is going to be. So let me show you guys what this is going to look like. All right. So let me unlock you. Do not put your computers away yet. Do not put your computers away yet. Okay. All right, everybody watch closely so you know what to do and which part of this you have to do, okay? So, in this assignment, you're going to write equations of circles that are going to, so that the circles will hit the stars. It's a marble slides activity. I like these. I think they're kind of neat. So, like this first one is just a demo to show you what it does. Have you guys done some of these on Desmos Classroom before? I love them. I think they're pretty cool. So, we'll do the first one together. So if you want to go there, you can do it. All right, this one is just a demo. It's just showing you what it's going to do. All right, so the purple is where the balls are going to drop from, and you want it to hit all of the stars to make them go away. If it makes all the stars go away, it is a success. Okay? So I love these activities. I think they're neat. So here is an example of what you're going to have to do. We're going to do the first one together right now. It says, change one number in the equation below to hit all of the stars. Because, like, obviously right now, if I launch, it's not going to work. Right? Because I don't have a boundary so those balls will go in the right direction. So, right now, that looks like the right size circle, but the center's not right. What do I need to change? All right. Y minus 3, is that what you have? Are you on the third slide? Okay, go to the third one. All right, so it starts off with the plus 4 is what you have there. But I really want my center to be right there at 3. So if I change that to a -3, and it's Desmo, so you can play around with it. Try something. If it doesn't look right, then you can try something else. If I change that to a -3, now, if I launch, success for that.
We're so good.
Okay? So, on the next one, it's going to tell you to change one number in the equation to hit all of the stars. So, those stars look way like more spread out than the circle I've got here. So, if you're only changing one number, which do you think we should change? The radius. So, right now it's 1. I don't know for sure how big it's supposed to be. Let's try like 5. Not big enough. 10. Still not big enough. 15. 25. 25 looks perfect. Right here. It should. 25 worked for me. Okay. Yeah, if you change more than one number, this will throw it off. Now, so the first ones, you're only going to have to change, guys, quiet please. Okay. First ones, you're going to only have to change one number. Then it is going to go to ones where you have to write the equation of the circle. So you would kind of guess like, oh, I think the radius needs, the center needs to be at 0, 0. So x squared, or you could do x minus 0 squared plus